everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's presentation, Managing Continuous Delivery of Mobile Apps for the Enterprise, with SoftLabs and our partner, InfoStretch. Our presenters today are Harshal Vora, Senior Solutions Engineer from InfoStretch, and Abhijit Pendyal, Solutions Engineer at SoftLabs. Harshal brings rich experience delivering solutions in mobile development to improve test coverage and efficiency. To get started, I wanted to cover a few things. The ability to ask questions during the presentation using the Q&A box within the WebEx panel. At the end of the presentations, we'll do a Q&A session and review as many as time permits. Also, we are recording this session and will be emailing it out to all registrants after the webinar, with the slides should be coming out tomorrow. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with our featured presenter, Harshal Vora from InfoStretch.
Everyone for joining this session, where we are going to discuss about managing continuous delivery of mobile apps for enterprise. How can has the power of ultimate mobile automation using CI and cloud, a device cloud. Before we deep dive into it, I would like to talk a little bit about InfoStretch, what we do. InfoStretch, we do a lot of application development and testing and enable the enterprises with their mobile strategy. We have a rich experience testing about more than 300,000 applications which are out there in the app stores right now. We have our global presence across the United States, Europe, and our offshore excellence centers with about 100 plus employees and our headquarters in Santa Clara. I'll let Abhijit talk about a little bit more about SoftLabs. So Abhijit, if you want.
Harshal, and welcome everybody. Good morning to you. SoftLabs is essentially the world's largest grid for executing Selenium as well as Appium tests, right? And the main problem that we are solving within the continuous integration, continuous delivery flow, which Harshal will be talking about in more detail, is the testing part, the integration and the functional testing piece. And make that easy, allowing you to test close to, allowing you to test all your web application and mobile application on close to 500 plus different browser and OS combinations. And as the slide suggests, we do this in a scalable and a very secure way. So if you're already familiar with Selenium and Appium, SoftLabs is a solution to make that testing even easier for you.
So let's get back to our agenda for today. Understanding what is CI, how CI can help enterprise, why CI is very important, right? Then with how we can have adoption of CI/CD processes across the organization, because there are certain groups within our organization who want to adopt to it, and it's really difficult for them to have unified adoption. So we'll talk about that. We'll deep dive into CI implementation and architecture, and let's see how we can marry the mobile cloud solutions and CI solutions to continuous delivery. And we will do a small case study and a small demo of what wonders CI can do. So let's start by understanding what is CI, and let's define CI, right? So CI is basically a software practice in which different code changes from multiple teams, which may be geographically dispersed, are tested immediately as soon as they are checked in terms of automated way, and reporting of those testing are captured in a centralized server. So I'll give you an example, right? There is an enterprise GoPro. They have their teams dispersed across multiple locations between China, India, and San Diego, California, right? What happens is all the teams are constantly coding and doing code check-ins into centralized server. But if the centralized server is not there, then the collaboration of these different teams becomes a big mess, and that's where CI helps. We will deep dive into what are the different key principles of CI, important, and these are 9 key principles of CI. If we implement this 9 principles, then the continuous integration and continuous delivery can be achieved for the mobile, which is a very dynamic world. Principle and the foremost important in the software life cycle is implementing a source control system, which can be a revision control system and help all the developers do code check-ins on regular intervals, and it can help have a unified system that can give you all the version controls as well as revision controls in a centralized server. So the tool sets like GitHub, NVN, Stash, which is an Atlassian suite tool, can help you keep a track of what's happening with my code, and who is checking what code, what changes are made, and all the changes are kept tracked and retracked back to. Now, once these code check-ins are done, the second step of CI is automating the build process. So my engineering team can, in parallel, keep coding rather than waiting for the binaries to be created. They can just keep coding if I have automated the build process. And tools like Ant, Maven, Grell, or Xcode can help us achieve automation of the build process, where the builds can be created on the fly in parallel while my engineering teams are still coding. Once this is done, right, we need to ensure that frequent comes and consolidation of code happens. So say suppose my teams are working in 2 separate locations, then I need to ensure that those teams are making code check-ins at frequent intervals. And in a CI system, it's very important to define those intervals. It can be a 1-hour interval, or it can be at every 4 hours where a code check happens. Even with a small change in the code, a code check-in happens. So those things are very important. So to ensure that we have continuous delivery of my newer code, as well as a faster build process creation. Now, once builds are created and the codes are checked in, the part where all the enterprises as well as startups we have seen are struggling is deploying this mobile application or mobile binaries on real devices or emulators or simulators, so they can do ensure that their code bases are okay and good to go. And where tools like TestFlight, HogGap, and Urban Code can help us in with the continuous integration tools like Jenkins or Bamboo or Circle CI or Travis CI, do these applications on multiple devices and my testing using TestNG, as well as in parallel I can run the code quality testing using Sonar Cube or say even Fortify kind of tools, which have a strong integration with my CI server systems. Now, this is a crux of my CI system. Now, to ensure continuous delivery, the other 3 principles which I'm going to talk about are very important. And in this, we need to have participants from the QA team, the DevOps team, as well as the dev team, where we are ensuring that our applications which we are deploying onto my mobile devices are tested against server environments which are cloned to the production environments, and thus a good confidence builds are okay to run against the production environment. It's very important to automate this acceptance test, and that's where my QA automation team comes into the picture. They can run those test scenarios and create functional automation suites or ration automation suites that we run at every code check-in. last and the important point is the dashboards for reporting. Can give us the trending charts of how application builds have fared over a period of time, how current application build is doing, what version of my application had some issues and what were those issues. Those kind of reporting can be very important. And carving out what are my reporting or what are my tracking I need to use for those reports is very important. Now let's look at these two concepts of continuous integration and continuous delivery into two diagrams. As you can see, right, on the left-hand side, continuous integration consists of source code systems, Git, SVN, which we already talked about. As we also have unit test tools like JUnit, and the continuous integration is crux of the continuous delivery process. So once the development team or engineering team has implemented this continuous integration, it is essential for the QA and DevOps team to take this step further and get automation included for the user acceptance test as well as my regression test. Here on the right-hand side, you can see all three groups overlap with each other in terms of automating the functional testing, doing my servers, stage environments, production environments, and there the continuous delivery comes into the picture. And all these are integrated to continuous delivery or continuous integration server, which can be my Jenkins Hudson or Circle CI or Travis CI. And all those different tools can talk to one continuous integration server, ensuring we have all our results captured at one place rather than going or juggling between the different systems. Now, why CI is important, right? We all know mobile applications or mobile world is very dynamic, right? And mobile apps live and die by their App Store ratings. If my App Store ratings are going down the drain, then as a product owner, I want to ensure that features or the bug fixes go out to the market as soon as possible, rather than prolonging my production cycle or my release cycle to the production to 2 months. I want to shrink it to 2 or maybe 1 week and ensure that I can help us a lot. A continuity can ensure the faster execution times for dev team as well as the QA teams and the applications faster. So improve on our App Store ratings. The second most important point is if we don't have a CI system, then we don't have a collaboration between different teams that might be working at different locations. So you are just going commando without the source code management system, where you don't have any tracking of what is happening in the code. There is no rollback system, as well as the app deployment process is in a mess. Also important that you have an automation process to deploy builds between different environments and create those environments on the fly rather than doing the manual process each and every time when functional test suite or regression test suite needs to be run across multiple devices. And that's where CI helps us to have those runtime automation kick in tool sets integrated within the continuous delivery system. Because in a hot mess of hot fixes, if we don't do the defects early enough in the system, we are losing on money as well as losing on time for our development team. So it's important. The 6 aspects of CI, why CI is important in an enterprise world. Now let's see what are the some objectives of CI, right? Shift left is a buzzword right now in the enterprise world. And what are key objectives that an enterprise wants to come up with to ensure that shift approaches going to the enterprise? So the quality left, right? We want to write automation early in the game, engaging the QA engineers early in the game, so that we can find the defects early enough and get those defects to the engineering teams early than getting late in the game. Lower defects in the production environment by ensuring that we are running tests against and clone to the production. Also want to make the builds and deployments more reliable, right? I want to ensure that my builds that go out to my quality teams are quality builds rather than just quantity builds. So rather than giving 500 builds out, I want to make sure that my engineering team delivers 200 quality builds that can be tested as well vetted out by my quality automation team. And it goes out to the production environment tested. Where shift left objective comes in. We want to automate the whole quality process, and CI and continuous delivery or continuous deployment can help us over there. We want to automate the root cause analysis as well. We can automate that what failures are happening. We can configure those with reporting tools. Then that can help us as a product owner. That can help me understand what's going wrong with my product, and I can easily channel my energies accordingly. So what is the value that CI brings to business, right? The defects are detected early and fixed sooner, right? Integrating testing throughout the development process would give QA teams more time to find bugs and help prevent bugs from affecting later code. So health of the software is measurable. By establishing the continuous testing into the automated integration process, the software health attributes such as the complexity of the code can be tracked over a period of time. We reduce assumptions by CI, which gives a chance to replace assumptions with knowledge, thereby eliminating all cross-platform errors at development stage. I don't need to juggle between, oh, my application is stable on iOS, it would be same as on Android as well. But if you have automation and CI in place, then we can ensure that my deployment is happening on iOS as well as Android, and reduce that assumption that it would be great on both the platforms. We overhead by finding the defect early in the game, right? If we find a defect later in the game, then there are chances that my development team might lose on time. It gives better project visibility, where you can see the integration occur frequently. It provides the opportunity to notice those trends and make informed decisions. Brings quality assurance, and this is the biggest benefit that CI brings in, right? It can enable you to release the deployable software at any point in time if you know that your software is passing all your functional and regression test suites without any issues. Even from the development perspective, even if you are okay to go through testing, then it gives you that assurance that you are good to go. Now, how to ensure the adoption of CI/CD process? And that's the best challenge that we have seen. From quality team want to go towards CI/CD process, and development team are always there. Development team has already implemented the CI process, but the team is struggling to implement the CI/CD process. And how we can ensure that this can be done is one team approach. You can co-locate, empower, as if you have two pizza teams, right? So a team is two beef, it can be fed by two pizzas. A very good approach, the agility model that Spotify has implemented is the squad, tribe, guild, and chapter approach, where they have created squads and empowered those small squads function as a small scrum team or a small startup that can make their own informed decisions rather than depending on different stakeholders. So just to give an example, there are multiple tribes. A single tribe can be can have multiple squads. So tribe can be focused on just backend server development. development. It can be doing just mobile player development. And in that mobile player development, there can be multiple squads which can be working on offline development, offline music play as well as online music play. And these squads essentially can be functioning without any dependency on each other. Now, to share the knowledge across different teams, the model adopted is the guild model, where the teams which are within different squads and tribes can share their knowledge by doing weekly meetings, and that's how we engage everyone in the CI/CD process. Because the agile methodology is what everyone in the industry wants to adopt right now. And if this kind of team model, they can ensure the adoption of CI/CD processes as well. It's very important to engage QA early in the game so that the automation aspect of CI/CD can be brought on early in the game. If we have QA working right from the requirement gathering or test scenario development, then we can have automation prepared for CI systems. And it's everyone's responsibility. So from the product owner to the engineering team to the QA team, everyone needs to take the responsibility of QA to ensure that the quality product goes out of the system. Focus is also very important, where CI tools, infrastructure, and so instead of DevOps, QA Ops group has to coordinate with the DevOps and collaborate. And QA has to take a very important role in going towards CI/CD process. Investing, because device proliferation, right? The iOS devices as well as Android devices, there are devices that you need to scale on. And CI and CD process can help you and deploy your automation within an hour's time on multiple devices. Element for testability. That's on automation. Automate everything, right? Smoke testing, unit testing, functional regression. If you automate at least 80% of your functionalities, then you are ensuring that your test cycle reduced and your delivery of the product is pretty much reduced. And to the fullest. What can help us to do this? Right? The concept of BDD, which is behavior-driven development, which is augmented from test-driven development and acceptance test-driven development, is important to achieve CI. What BDD helps us do is, in coming of a significant portion of functional documentation, it gives in form of user stories, augmented with executable scenarios or examples. So, user stories and user scenarios can be written by a product owner, can be written by a development team, as well as it can be written by QA teams. So there is no dependency of test case writing on QA team, and engage everyone, and you get everyone onto the team, write the user scenarios, and you can capture the test coverage as well as your test outputs within the automation scenarios. See what a life of a requirement is in a TDD or ATDD approach. Be it a specification document, a requirement document, based on what we write a test plan or a test case document, and say I have some changes to my requirements, then all my test planning and test case need to be archived, and I have to start writing the requirements again. Well, in BDD, you come up with a model solution, right? You come up with user stories that this user stories. This is what users need to do, and from user story, everyone within the team comes up with a user scenario. And there are small changes in a user story. I don't need to change the whole user scenario. I just need to change refactor my test implementation, and retaining the same intent of the user scenario. say a login scenario, a user needs to log in, there can be a functionality change in the login scenario. But still, user scenario is user should be able to log in using certain conditions, and that's just refactoring the test scenario rather than refactoring the whole user scenario. So why BDD, right? The faster cycle time, early option of user scenarios by everyone within the team, shift left imperative, understand test scenarios and test results, close collaboration of QEs, devs, and the product teams helps us get test right early enough, as well as increasing the test coverage. There might be scenarios where QEs forget about certain scenarios, which might be the scenarios from the product team, and so that ensures a great coverage in terms of CI and CD. And scenarios are as easy to access, available living documentation on an application rather than a test case document which can be changed or archived over a period of time. Now, before we go deep dive into the CI/CD implementation and the whole architecture of CI/CD, I have a couple of polling questions that I would like everyone to answer to, which you might be seeing on the right-hand side of your panel. First question is, what level of CI is already implemented in your organization? You select multiple options where you see version control, build automation, automated deployment, as well as the second question is, what tools are being used to a CI at your organization? Are you using APM Sauce Labs combination? Are you using Selenium open source, or are you using some other tool sets? We have time for everyone to do those poll questions. We move further. We've seen all these aspects of CI, right? The version control, build automation, automated deployment, important aspects of CI. And enterprises usually get stuck at the auto deployment as well as the regression testing, and that's where a lot of teams need to work on. Okay, we are almost done with the polling question, and yes, the poll has ended. You might be seeing the poll results or end as well now. We'll have Abhijit's expert view on this polls as well. So Abhijit, what's your take on this?
Yeah, just compiling the results. So give us a couple seconds.
Done.
And it seems like answer the question, but a lot of people are still 12% to 14% are aware of build automation and have some sort of build automation their testing pipe or code deployment pipe, and then a majority of them are doing unit and functional testing as well as regression testing as part of that. But there is very little automated deployment that's going on, and that's to be expected, right? From automation tools that are being used, Selenium is the most popular as expected as well. So this poll is quite reflective of what is present in the industry today.
Moving on, right? How does a CI/CD process architecture look like, and what are the different tiers of CI/CD process? So as you can see, right, there are delivery teams which are constantly coding and checking in their codes into a version control system. Version control instantiates my build and unit test. Automated build process and unit test can be done. Now, if unit test fails or somehow my build automation process fails, then it gives feedback right away to my development team, then waiting on the QA team to give that same feedback to my QA team or to my engineering team. So the early feedback to my engineering team can help get results faster out of the door and reducing the overhead. Whereas in a complete success scenario, if everything passes from the build and unit test, automated acceptance test, as the user acceptance test, the release can go smooth and faster. This basic CI/CD process architecture, where we have different layers, and where InfoStretch can help you, this is the Jumpstart that we have archived, or we have carved out over a period of time for experiences, right? Jumpstart can vary from 4 weeks to 12 weeks, where we have 3 different stages where we review, define, and deploy. So in the review phase, it's sort of understanding of your requirements of an enterprise's expectations. How many applications do we have? What platforms do we support? What is the branching strategy? How many engineering teams are there? What geographical locations? Based on those review questions, we define a solid continuous integration or continuous deployment strategy, identifying the right tools as well as automation architecture for those enterprises. And deployment phase, we start executing and deploying those, integrating those continuous integration and deployment tools. So again, as I said earlier, it can vary from 4 weeks to 12 weeks depending on the complexity of the applications. Now, when we are using a mobile cloud, the CI architecture totally changes, right? When we are using a CI cloud in conjunction with a mobile cloud like Sauce Labs, right? As you can see, my developers are continuously coding and checking into SVN or GitHub or TPS. My Jenkins instantiates a job to create that build on the unit test on emulators or simulators. And again, it builds on multiple devices on Sauce Labs device cloud and get those results put back to my ALM system. So I'm using an HP Pointer or HP ALM on a different ALM tool, and I can integrate everything within my Jenkins server. This thing can give you a dashboard for function tests, regression tests, basic architecture of C mobile cloud. Why do we want to use harnessing CI and cloud, right? There already support of most cases by automatically deploying the mobile apps, adding your test code, and assuring high quality delivery of any mobile app style, right? It can be a mobile web app, it can be mobile native app, and there are pretty flexible and mobile ready plugins available from this cloud-based tools, which can be easily integrated. The size, unlimited scalability and device elasticity, right? You ramp up from a single device testing to a full cross-platform load testing on hundreds of devices worldwide. With this SLA-based cloud and local deployment services are consistent, stable, and secure, which is for global and distributed team collaboration. Existing infrastructure, whether you are using a specific ALM system, you are using a specific automation architecture, you can leverage those existing services and integrate with the cloud tools. You can test your mobile CI workflow in real user conditions by testing on real device-like conditions, which simulate the real device conditions in real time. On deployability, you can execute your test 24/7. Even when your engineering teams are not working, you can have your automation run on those device-based clouds continuously. Also, issue resolution because of great debug and screenshots and videos that are continuously available for reporting. You can integrate back to your Jenkins environment as well. So there are some of the benefits of harnessing CI in cloud. Now, what things to keep in mind when you are selecting a cloud-based solution, right? So first off, it is an on-demand cloud. It's for distributing access. It should be cost-efficient. Team engagement. It should be supporting different automation tools, Selenium, Appium, as well as it should have an architecture support in terms of plugins. And it should have plugins to integrate with your support systems which are currently existing within an organization. Now, let's go through a case study of implementation that we implemented for a healthcare provider using the mobile cloud. The customer had a strong challenge of execution times, where an automation script, a single automation script, would run for 22 minutes, best case, and that's acceptable. And they wanted to optimize the whole execution time. They have those automations, and they were not able to leverage those automation tools because of deployment process. They had a strong deployment challenge where they were not able to automate the deployment process on multiple device clouds available for responsive web design. So they had multiple frameworks for multiple applications. Once we looked at problem, the approach we took is we recommended them for automating the native and web application within one framework, use device cloud, collaborate with the Scrum teams and understand the web service and JSON in test data generation so that we can have a strong collaboration there. As we propose the HP ALM integration along with Jenkins for complete automation lifecycle. Execution time from 22 minutes to 8 to 10 minutes per test case, which is a great reduction. Use Selenium Grid on a device cloud, utilizing or running the regression test suite 2 to 3 times per week, which is average about 1,200 test cases executed in each cycle. So, and this was achieved using CI integration and CI tools. As you can see, this was the architecture. The Jenkins server, as soon as the code check-in happens, from the perspective, we integrated the ALM system to my Jenkins using plugins, as used device cloud, sourceless device cloud, to integrate with my HP Collidator as well as my Jenkins server for deploying my apps as well as running of my functional and regression test suites. Okay, enough of talk now. Let's see the actual demo of how the whole CI system would look like, right? Let me quickly, so this is how the demo of a Jenkins server or a CI server would look like. I can have multiple apps in here, and I can see the trending of my apps. How is my apps over a period of time running? So let's start with, so what happens, my Jenkins job for this contact manager with source integration will start. And you can do a live console output of what's going on with my particular build. At the same time, you can have into Source Lab using a Source Lab Jenkins plugin, where you see what exactly is happening with my builds. I'll let Abhijit talk more about how you can leverage the Source Lab integration with Jenkins.
And as Harshal is introducing you to the Source Labs dashboard, I do want to point out that any CM or Appium tests that you run on Source Labs, you're able to see the live execution of the test real time. As you can see on that comment there, the video below shows your text executing in real time. This is a short test, so by the time the test is done, the video will be encoded and uploaded. But as part of the test execution itself, you get debugging assets like screenshots, videos, and logs in the metadata. And once the test is over, you will see that. While the test is running, you're looking at the. I'll introduce you to the 4 menu items on the Sauce Lab dashboard here. There's the dashboard page that shows you what tests you have been running, and all tests are segmented out into the different columns. So if you're just running a single automated test, whether it's an Appium, it shows up in a dedicated column. Harshal is running tests as part of a build, so the build will show up in the build column. And then you can also run manual tests on your mobile applications or your web applications. Now, Harshal clicks into the test. I quickly want to go over what I reiterated before, is that you're able to look at the screenshots of all the page element executions that happen on your test, right? So you're really interested in debugging a failed test, and we make that easy for you by providing you with a video of the entire session, as well as the logs, the Appium log, as well as the Selenium log, and then step-by-step screenshots of all the executions, right? So and we mark those particular failures with a red border. So in this case, the test passed, but if it had failed, we would have seen the particular failed step marked by red. Right. And also, as part of the dashboard, you have an archives page on the left-hand side there that allows you to, on the left-hand side, there's the icon, archive, that allows you to drill into your builds that you may have run previously, as well as any tests that were run as part of the build. We have built a special query language that allows you to query a particular test, name them, as well as test configuration tags to us. This we'll talk about, but mainly what we are doing on the Sauce Labs dashboard itself is optimizing a build setup, right? So it's easy for you to discern failed builds and failed tests. And not only that, we have a plugin for Sauce Labs for Jenkins, as Harshal mentioned, and using that plugin, you can render all of these different video logs and screenshots on the Jenkins job dashboard itself, although we haven't done this here, but it's possible to do.
Sure. Thanks, Abhijit.
Sure.
So you mentioned, right, within like 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, we had our build created, deployed on Sauce Labs environment, and we had one test scenario also executed with all the test steps as well as my test results with screenshots captured in my Sauce Lab device cloud. As Abhijit mentioned, with the Jenkins plugin, we can pull all the results back into this Jenkins server and have this my trending report where I can see the history of my builds, how my builds fared over a period of time with the console outputs. And this is a better visibility to the product owners and stakeholders in terms of reporting and in terms of how the health of my software is over time. So that are some of the key benefits of implementing CI and continuous delivery for more applications. With that, we include our demo, and I'd like to have it back over to Christina. We are open for Q&A session.
Thank you so much, Harshal. That was great. Yeah, we did get a few questions coming in here, so I'm going to go ahead and get to those. One of the questions was, what is the difference between automated acceptance and user acceptance? Are we talking about UI included in user acceptance and the other doesn't?
So that's a good question. Yes, so that's a good question, right? What's the difference between the automated acceptance test and user acceptance test? So the user acceptance test, after my automation regression suite is done, the user acceptance test needs to also be automated from the UI perspective. Certain user scenarios are not covered in my functional regression suite, are part of my user acceptance test. And those are different from my automated test, which can be part of my regression suite.
Okay. Thank you. This question is actually for Abhijit. Was the demo test that you were doing, or actually for both of you, executed on a real device?
Yeah, yes, the demo that Harshal just showed us, the Appium script was executed on a Samsung Galaxy S4 real device in Sauce Labs, yes. Not only do we have the Samsung Galaxy S4s, but we also have Samsung Galaxy S5s part of our offering. And we're soon be launching an iOS device beta, so iOS iPhones and iPads will be available on the Sauce Labs platform.
Great. This is a pretty specific question. It just came in. I think it's for you, Abhijit. Does Sauce Labs support C-test based on automated tests?
I'm not familiar with C-test, and we can follow up with the user after the call.
Okay. The question is, do you do CI on daily, nightly releases? How detailed are the CI tests? Are they only smoke tests? And that's what you heard. Yeah.
Yes. That's a good question, right? As we defined earlier, right, we need to define the nightly and regression build test, whether we want to do a weekly regression or we want to do a nightly regression. We implemented nightly regressions where we execute about 500 regression test suites and 100 test case, which are the smoke test suite, every night on a particular build. So as those code check-ins happen, a nightly regression suite as nightly smoke test suite kicks in.
Can scripts be used for different devices, created for Android and used on iOS?
But at the same time, and Appium makes that really easy, right? You can have the same script written in Appium for Android and iOS. But of course, the underlying automation frameworks for Android and iOS identify the objects in a different way, right? So if your if the application objects can be identified in a consistent manner across, whether it's an iOS build and an Android build, yes, subjectively, you can have the same Appium script executed against those two platforms.
And again, right, we have to keep in mind that, as Abhijit said, if my iOS and Android application underlying objects are identical, right, I can my same scripts on cross-platform device, iOS as well as Android.
Makes sense. Well, while we're talking about Appium, this is probably a little bit of a subjective question, but someone wrote in, has the ROI of Appium been strong versus the cost of maintenance and finding excessive false positives?
In terms of in terms of ROI, right? If you think about it, scripting to run my Appium test for iOS and Android, and my same script can run across both the platforms. And that's a biggest achievement in terms of ROI. You have to go through robot framework, or you don't have to go through basically Calabash Cucumber framework. You have one framework to talk about.
I think, do you have anything to add? Or?
Absolutely. I mean, Harshal hit the nail on the head. I mean, Appium is an open source platform, right? But it's getting increasingly enterprise visibility based on the stability as well as the optimization of the whole framework that the community has been doing. So definitely a great ROI.
Okay, thanks, guys. Sauce Labs question, actually. How does Sauce Labs integrate with the CI tools?
A good question. In the demo, we did see the plugin for Sauce Labs, plugin for Jenkins in action. But not only that, for looking at the other CI tools like Travis, Circle CI, TeamCity, Bamboo, Sauce Labs has created a plugin for them as well. So that integration, regardless of what automation tool, like what CI tools you're using on your end, you can seamlessly run your functional integration, name Appium test suite on Sauce Labs.
Cool. Next question is still on the CI topic. What is the right level of test automation for CI?
Yeah, so the right level of test automation for CI is very subjective again. We have so for CI, right, to be successful continuous delivery process, it's essential that we have at least a small suite of test cases in terms of smoke test or regression test or functional test, at least automated. So if I have a suite of 1,000 test cases, I'd like to ensure that I have at least 600 to 800 test cases which are automated and part of my CI system.
Okay. So I think this question must have come in, I'm looking at a different window here, it must have come in maybe during the demo. They were asking, are the tests run in parallel, and if so, are they all run on the same device?
I assume they're asking about tests being run on Sauce Labs?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll take that. Yes, all the tests, if you're running a test suite with multiple tests, and you want to run them in parallel in Sauce Labs, you can definitely do that. What Sauce Labs does is for each browser and OS combination or mobile platform that you want to run a test on, we spin up a pristine new virtual machine and execute logic of your test onto that VM, and then shut down that VM after test is done, and then create those screenshots, videos, and logs, the debugging assets, right? On the same VM itself, you cannot run multiple test cases. You really don't want to do that either, right? You want to run your test case on as many different platforms as you can in parallel, so you're optimizing the coverage of your applications across those platforms.
And to add to that point, right, I can have different modules of my application running on at the same time in parallel on multiple devices of the same type, right? Say if I want to ensure that my application runs seamlessly on iPhone 5s with 8.4 or tomorrow 9.0 comes out, then I can have my multiple modules, their test case automation suite, my 50 cases for login, 50 test cases for sharing my application, run those on multiple VMs or real devices at the same time in parallel. So then give us faster results as well.
Yeah, that sounds good. This is an interesting question that I've had before. The question is, can we test the camera? They want to take a picture and upload to the server, but I think the general question is, can I test the camera on the mobile device, and how do I do that?
Yes, there are. So we have automated the camera functionality as well, where we do take the picture of for financial services where there are key of uploading your check deposit in camera. We automated that process as well, where we can take the picture of that particular check, upload it to the server, and get the results back in. Using Selenium as well as Appium.
Okay, I think this will be the last question, and then we'll wrap it up. The question is, do the process processes differ if we support mobile-friendly websites or responsive design?
Sorry, Christian, I missed that question.
All right. Do the processes differ if they support mobile-friendly websites versus responsive design? I guess just kind of asking about the differences in.
So in terms of automation architecture and the way we our scripts, there might be a difference. But in terms of CI and CD process, all the best practices need to be there. From the process perspective, I don't see any differences. From the automation implementation perspective, there might be some differences.
What?
Okay. I'm sorry, did you finish or did we cut you off?
No, I'm finished.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you so much. I think that was very helpful for everybody. We had some good questions. And again, I will be sending out a recording with the slides as well. That should be coming out tomorrow to anyone who registered. Thanks again. Bye.